I have before you a picture of a painting by Worthington Whittredge entitled Twilight on the Marsh. He lived from 1820 to 1910 and was part of the Hudson River School landscape painters that painted the American wilderness. This movement was from 1825 to 1870. As you can see, the painting before you has beautiful oranges, yellows, and browns. We have some water there, some marsh grass, mountains, trees, and the sky. So let's get started. I'm applying a ground color so that I don't have a stark white canvas. It's a warm tan color that I mixed up. And as you can tell, I have speeded up the video so that these videos don't take long, hopefully. It's about 20 minutes. So I have mixed a little bit greener color for the bottom half of the canvas and a yellow tan for the top. So I'm trying to find my place here as we block out shapes so we'll know how to progress in the painting, and right now I'm determining where the mountain is. And determining where my trees are positioned, and I'm going to rough those shapes out as well. And now we're going to block in the area where the marsh grasses are. And I love the setup that he has decided to use for this painting, as the water is like a road that leads your eye into the painting. I also really enjoy the reflections on the water, and we'll be able to do that as well. Okay, we're going to now apply some yellow, orange, orange, and red orange. He had a very muted palette. He was painting the marsh, so perhaps that's what the marsh looks like. But I wanted the palette to have a little more color, and so I decided to mix my colors more vibrant. So that's why you'll notice that difference between my painting and his, in that that it's a little bit brighter canvas. We're going to put the red right over the mountain top to make that the most vibrant area. Have you seen the sun setting behind a mountain? And then you see the rays of the sun coming up over the mountain. You don't see the sun any longer, but you still see the effects of the sun on the horizon. So I'm going to go in and blend these together so there's more of a smooth transition in color. Okay, for this mountain area, I have mixed a blue-green, very light blue-green. It is almost a mint color, and I mix that as the lightest color, and then that same mint green color, darker, for the second color that you see me applying now. And then I have a pine green that's a muted pine green so that it has a little black in it for the bottom of that mountain. So we're going to blend this and make sure we have smooth transitions. When we paint something in the background, we don't usually see a lot of detail at a distance. So, we don't have to paint every tree or every cut in the rock. It just at a distance appears as a landmass. And you would really, unless you had excellent vision, have to have binoculars to make out the details in the background. Okay, we are going to be adding some of the grasses, and we have shades of green for those grasses, and that they're going to be muted. At the water's edge, we're going to put a dark black green. We added some highlights of the lighter colored grasses as well as the darker colored grasses. Okay, let's work those trees. What I'm using there is the filbert brush, and this is an old filbert brush, and the bristles are really frayed, but it works very well for grasses and trees. So I've mixed together a warm brown, which has some orange and yellow in it. And now I'm putting the trunks and the branches in on the tree. And then we'll go back in and add more foliage in there. The winter time is really a good time to be able to see what the branches on a tree look like. You can see the skeleton of the tree when the leaves fall off of it, and it helps you create a good structure by having had that experience of seeing trees when their leaves have fallen off. And now we're working on the same process on the other side of the canvas. So with the trees on either side, it helps frame the picture, and with the body of water there in the center acting like a path that guides you into the painting, and then the trees on either side as gateways framing the picture. He did come up with a good composition here. So I've taken the warm brown color for the leaves, and I added some more yellow and white to it to make a highlight color. So we can come back and highlight the leaves that are the furthest out on the trees that is picking up that sunlight. And I'm using a fan brush. I'm going to be using a fan brush, a small one, to apply those highlights on the leaves. And for the branches and the trunks of the trees, I've used a very dark green. Of course, you know, you can use brown, black. This is in shadow somewhat. I thought that green, the very dark green, might be a good color to use. And here I'm applying those highlights I talked about. I have my dog in here with me while I'm doing this recording and painting, and he is about 80 pounds, and he's a lab American Bulldog mix. Love that dog. He's such a good boy, but he snores and he makes other noises. So if you hear snoring, it's my dog. I'm adding some of the brown color to the marsh grass. I noticed in his painting that he had some browns, varying shades of browns for the marsh grasses. He also, the shadow areas were very dark, brown, black. So I'm doing that as well to try and show where the shadow areas are on the painting. I also will be adding some of the lighter yellow brown for highlights. And then at the water's edge, there is the very dark color of the soil where it meets the water. And then there's the shadow area of the water too that we'll be addressing momentarily. So we're continuing to work the painting up, adding layers of color to make it more visually interesting, as well as more realistic appearing. So he did this painting in the 1800s, and he had the wilderness of America as his canvas. Must have been very, very enjoyable work to see that untarnished land. And I've mixed up a very pale yellow, green, and blue mixture to go over the water. And then as we get closer to the land area, we're going to add our shadow in. So I've taken that color and added a touch more green and some black to it to make a darker mixture. And so we're going to go over the outside edges of the water. And then I've taken a glaze that I mixed up of red and yellow, and I've diluted it to a fairly thin liquid, and I'm going back over the water area, and this is blending those colors better and making it, difficult to see the brush marks. And also that glaze is going to make it look more like water. And when I say a glaze, it's just the paint, the translucent paint of red and the translucent paint of yellow with water and glycerin added to it. And I had went over in a previous video tutorial about using water with with glycerin to make a retardant which slows down the drying time of the acrylic, which allows you to have a longer open time. I'm going back over the dark area where the water meets the soil. And so I'm adding that very dark green black there to show the separation between the land and the water, and also to show that the land is a different height than the water. Okay, we're coming back in. I'm reworking that mountain area to make the bottom portion of the mountain look darker than the top of the mountain. Sometimes when you're working in acrylic, it kind of all becomes the same color, and in order to have more of a 3D shape, you want to have, your variations in hue, having the lighter hue value at and the darker and the mid-range colors, and that's what really helps create that 3D effect, or that it's just not a piece of paper, that it's an actual shape. I've painted these up, which is just like painting a loose W, and the leaves of the water finishing touches and the final photo I took of it that you see. I'm pleased with the results, and I hope you are too. Thank you for watching.